Hey everyone, it's Friday, January 9th. Let's talk PlayStation. Let's kick off today's episode with some Uncharted 4 details. Game Informer is headlining with Uncharted 4 for their February issue, so that means a bunch of cool, interesting stuff has come out about it. One thing being the actual premise in the story. So basically, it's 3 years after the events of Uncharted 3. Nathan Drake and Elena are, together, trying to be happy, but Nathan Drake's brother Sam comes in, wants to find a treasure, so they all hunt out to go get it. And, deals with other multiple factions trying to get the treasure, and then Sam gets a little jealous over Nathan Drake's abilities of how he's, he's younger and he's more nimble, I guess, and is able to jump and leap across ledges like a super awesome, crazy person. Naughty Dog has also confirmed, basically, in a sense that, they're trying to give Nathan Drake some closure on his story, which more than likely tells us this is probably the last Uncharted, which, if you didn't realize that by now, I mean, the game's called Uncharted 4 A Thief's End, which I, had thought, okay, it probably is the last one. They're 4 games in. Naughty Dog does like to move on to new projects eventually, so this more than likely will be the last Uncharted. Also, multiplayer mode has been confirmed. That's not necessarily a surprise, considering the last 2 Uncharted games had multiplayer, so not really surprising there, but it's cool to know that we have it, and, it's the same year that this game's supposed to be coming out, so we're going to be seeing a lot more details about it, probably going to see some more gameplay soon. All around, I'm excited. I'm excited a lot. We're into 2015, so it's time to finally see some of these games come out. So if you're not living under a rock and you're at all on the internet whatsoever on any sort of tech website, you're probably noticing that CES is going on right now. CES 2015. That's Consumer Electronics Show. A lot of cool stuff. Sony actually holds press conferences there. Usually they don't have too much PlayStation stuff there, but they do have some. But the thing is, it's a Consumer Electronics Show, so there's a bunch of, they're showing off phones, cameras, really crazy stuff like new cars, Tesla's there. They're showing off 4K televisions, 3D printers, all sorts of crazy cool stuff, and you'll see some stuff for games sometimes. One interesting thing I thought I'd bring up is the Nyko data bank for PlayStation 4, so you can obviously see a picture of it right next to me. This is basically going to allow the PlayStation 4 to use 3.5-inch hard drives. Now, we all know, even with the PlayStation 3, you can only use 2.5-inch laptop hard drives or SSDs or SSHDs, but this is going to allow you to use a 3.5-inch hard drive. So basically, what the real function here is that you're more accessible to cheaper hard drives, not necessarily larger ones, because I believe the PS4 does have a cap on how large of a hard drive it can read, which I believe is 2 terabytes. Don't quote me on that. So you can't necessarily get something crazy like 5 terabytes or something, because I don't believe the PS4 will properly read it. But it will give you access to very cheap 2 terabyte hard drives, or 1.5 terabyte hard drives, something like that. So that's basically what this thing's going to do. It looks a little weird considering the fact that it makes your PS4 larger, and you actually have to connect, you attach this thing on the top where the faceplate goes, and then there's a cord on the back of this device that you plug into the PS4's AC, and then you take the regular AC cord and plug it into that to keep it powered and everything. Seems like kind of a pain and not necessarily ideal, so I don't know if many people would be into using this, but that is an option for you soon. One of the things that was announced at CES 2015 is PlayStation Vue, which is that TV streaming service for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Sony CEO Kaz Hirai has confirmed that that's coming early 2015, so should be very, very soon. The beta's already over, but the interesting thing is Sony hasn't confirmed pricing details yet, subscription pricing at all, but it is apparently right around the corner, so I'm kind of shocked that we don't have more details on it, or we didn't see more things from the beta or anything, or people weren't really, talkative about it, but this service is right around the corner, so we can expect that soon. We'll see how aggressive Sony gets with TV in 2015. This seems like a pretty early, good start. Probably the biggest PlayStation news story this past week was the confirmation of a subscription model for PlayStation Now. So for the longest time, we've talked about this. We've talked about the fact that Sony was trying to work it out and see what they were going to do, and they, never confirmed it. But, a possible PlayStation Now pricing subscription. So instead of, renting per title, like $3 for, a week or something, or $6 for a week, or something absurd like $30 for 60-day rental on a game. We all know the pricing on PlayStation Now is pretty awful. But now we have a subscription price, so you can pay one price per month to have access to every single title. So what it is right now in the US is $20 for 1 month, or you can pay upfront $45 for 3 months, which works out to about $15 every month if you're going to pay upfront $45. And you'll have access to over 100 PlayStation 3 titles. That's what they have right now, slightly over, a little bit over 100. The really cool thing is that Sony has basically confirmed straight up that yes, PlayStation Now will have legacy PlayStation titles, so PlayStation 2 games and PlayStation 1 games, which I just talked about last week in the predictions video, which is I think PS1 and PS2 games will come to PS4 at some point in the form of either emulation or PS Now. I was leaning more towards PS Now because that makes way more sense. That seems like that's what's going to be happening. Sony confirmed this on the PlayStation blog when they said yes, we'll hopefully add we'll add PS2 games, PS1 games at some point. They're still focusing on the PS3 library right now, which they probably should because there's only 100 titles on there. But that is the pricing model. So, you know, what do you think? I actually think it's not that bad. Initially, a lot of people want to say that's expensive, $20 a month, especially for only 100 games, which I understand that's not necessarily good. You know, it's kind of one of those pricing models where it's like you wouldn't stay subscribed to that. Like, I've been subscribed to Netflix for like over 2 years now, and I don't ever plan to like cancel it anytime soon because it's like there's just so much stuff on there. But with PlayStation Now, because there's only like 100 titles, it would seem like it would make more sense to subscribe for only a month, play what you need to play, and then like unsubscribe. It's not like you're gonna stay subscribed for that price. So they need to add a lot more titles. But I feel like, but it very much so seems fair. It's gonna be difficult for Sony to find a sweet spot because this is the games industry. It's much different for Netflix and Hulu or, you know, Amazon Prime Video, or, you know, it's video. We got games, you know, and Sony's gonna have to pay for the streaming service. People are gonna have to pay. Sony's gonna have to pay for each title being on there. I don't know how they're doing it in terms of if they're paying per stream or, you know, just doing a bulk buyout per to have a specific title on there. How they're working with publishers and developers to get titles onto the service. You know, and that one subscription price has to pay for, you know, they have to work it out so they still get a profit from it. So to me, at least, it looks kind of like it seems like a good price at first. Not good, but I'm neutral on it, right? There needs to be more on it. There needs to be more games on the actual service to justify the $20 to $45, or that price needs to be lower for the current amount of titles on there. But right now, it's like I'm iffy on it. They're headed in the right direction, I'd say. Moving on to our next news story, the PlayStation 4 has been officially delayed in China. The system was supposed to launch January 11th in China, just days before it was supposed to. Problem being that Sony's having problems negotiating with Chinese authorities. Apparently, there are various issues with the PS4 launching in China that Sony hasn't really ironed out yet, I guess. It's a very vague news report. There's really not a whole lot of details, but just days before the system was supposed to launch there, it got delayed. So, kind of unfortunate. It's a big market. Hopefully Sony gets in there soon and they figure out what's going on. So just last week, we were doing all of our predictions, and we were predicting sales numbers for the systems and where they might stand in 2015. But now, Sony has updated us on some PlayStation 4 numbers. PlayStation 4 is at 18.5 million systems sold worldwide. A lot, and there's about 11 million PlayStation Plus subscriptions, which is also a lot. Yeah, it's a big number. It's very clear that Sony is still is selling PS4 at an incredible rate, much faster than the PlayStation 3. I believe it's still on track to sell. It's selling faster than the PlayStation 2. It's not at Wii, like the sales rate of Wii. Wii was just at an incredible sales pace, so they're not there, I think, but it's doing well, and that's pretty much it. There's really not much else to say when we're talking about sales numbers. At the very least, it's better to give it some perspective when we're way down the line. But just last week we were talking about, you know, the prediction, and they were sitting at what, 17.2 or 17.3, something like that. And the last time that was updated was December 13th. So now we've got an updated number from Sony after the holidays, and they're at 18.5. So it's clear they did very well over the holidays, which is to be expected. But we'll see how well they do for 2015 if they can keep that momentum. Yeah, dude, I'm just shocked it's still doing this well. I never would have guessed it. Like, back in 2013, before PS4 had launched, I would have been like, yeah, it's probably going to sell really well, but I just did not expect it to be at this good of a rate. And I'm happy about that. I'm cool with it. Those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. You know, not a whole lot going on. There is CES, and there's a few other, like, you know, third-party news stories with other games and stuff, but not really a whole lot of super relevant PlayStation stuff. But we gotta wait until we go into like E3, or I was like burping, by the way, and I was trying to like hold it in. But you know, we gotta wait till we go into like E3 and everything. Like, the year really gets a jump start. We're still in the dead of winter, so not a whole lot going on. But anyway, that about does it for me. I'm Ryan Badecki. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'll see you guys all next Friday.